Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Droid Life Show, episode 58. This beautiful Wednesday regular evening. With me, I'm Kellen. With me, Tim, Ron, Kyle. Everybody say hi real quick.
Hey guys, how's it going? Tim here.
Hey, this is Ron.
Hi, Kyle here.
So again, we're back at a regular time after Tim and I sort of did a solo show on, that sounds really weird. After Tim and I got together and chatted on Friday.
That's hot.
To talk about our Galaxy S5.
Loved that solo show.
Wow. Great start. So anyway, we talked about our Galaxy S5 review. Tim also got his hands on the OnePlus One. We actually talked about quite a bit of stuff. So if you missed last week's show, sorry it wasn't on Wednesday, but we did do one on Friday, and we talked about all kinds of stuff. So this week, it's only been a couple of days since we did that show, so we've got a few topics to go through. We're definitely going to do a Q&A, so if you're listening live, make sure you jump onto our Google Plus page and ask us some questions, things like that. We might have plenty of time. Otherwise, we're going to talk about the LG G3, since it seems to be everywhere now. Now that we've got sort of the announcement for an event or its unveiling, it seems like it's just leaking left and right. Now there's a rumored HTC One M8 Prime, along with the Galaxy S5 Prime. It's like no one can come up with another name for the next version of a phone other than Prime now, apparently. HTC news on them potentially being successful moving forward in the 1.8 Mini. We'll talk a little bit about Verizon and how they are deciding not to overreact to the changes in the wireless industry, and it actually seems to have maybe hurt them a little bit last quarter. Some other things, apps, games, if we have any, and yeah. So again, thanks for joining us. Let's start first with G3 talk. So LG G3, we're going to talk about it for probably the next handful of weeks because it's going to be unveiled on May 27th. LG has told us as much, and we'll be at one of the events to bring you all that coverage, hands-on, all that good stuff. We're apparently seeing a phone that maybe doesn't have a glossy back, or it does. I think it was EvLeaks this week tweeted a picture that said no more fingerprint magnet, and he showed this sort of brushed metal looking back. Although previous pictures we've seen sort of show a glossy white or black or gray version, so who knows exactly what we're seeing there. We did get a list of new potential specs today, which show a Snapdragon 805 processor over the 801 and a higher capacity 3200 milliamp hour battery, 3 gig of RAM, and then a 5.5-inch quad HD display. And just before we came on air, actually, LG announced that their next flagship will have a 5.5-inch quad HD display. So that's confirmed. The display will be a 5.5-inch quad HD LCD display. So we've got all that stuff. You guys have seen all this LG G3 stuff. Are you getting excited? Like when Samsung started announcing, like the Galaxy S5 and HTC was doing the One M8 stuff, and you kind of get excited for that. So are you getting excited for the G3 like that? Like is LG starting to sort of come into that realm of big-time releases with these phones? Just curious thoughts in general, what you guys have had lately.
Absolutely. I think that the G3 is probably the most highly anticipated device of 2014.
I agree.
While the One M8 was definitely awesome, they had lovely fanfare and all this, fantastic stuff. I think it didn't really live up to expectations. The G3 for me is the phone that I'm putting on this huge pedestal because I feel like the G2 was so underrated last year that the G3 is going to come. It's going to come with that QHD display. It's going to come with these sweet specs, and everyone's just going to be like, oh damn. And while Samsung and HTC have been bickering back and forth for the past months, LG has just been quietly prepping this killer device, and I'm super stoked for it.
It's like LG is now quietly brilliant, It's kind of a reversal.
Wow. They should steal that.
Never do
Right.
that again.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Anybody else? I know, Kyle, you've got a G2,
Life's
so
good.
you're probably excited for this G3, although you just
Yeah,
bought it.
I know. If I hadn't used my upgrade on the G2, I definitely would be pre-ordering, or, plan to pre-order the G3, because I think it's what everyone wanted the Samsung Galaxy S5 to be. There is no question that the hardware will be incredibly impressive and super powerful. If it does deliver on the, if it does turn out to have a Snapdragon 805 processor, that's going to be that's going to be amazing. That was my one reservation. I wasn't sure if the 801 processor would be powerful enough to drive the super high resolution display, because I think that's a problem the Droid DNA had when it came out. But now that there are rumors that indicate it will have the more powerful processor, that concern was allayed for me. And it has a better battery, which was another worry. So yeah, the hardware is amazing, and the bezel is impressively thin. It is a little large for my liking. And another big concern for me that still remains is whether LG will deliver on the software front or not. I mean, we've seen glimpses of their new interface, and it looks really refined. But
I think it looks ugly.
I kind of like it, actually. Well, I mean, compared to...
It looks childish.
It's got to be better than Samsung.
Hold on. Have you used a G2 in a while, though? I mean, that stock interface is horrible.
It's really
That's
bad,
horrendous.
I thought it was one of the worst. Yeah, I just liked it more than I liked the Sense, But I don't like the new icon look of the new G. Like, it just looks very boring. Like, I'm just gonna throw a launcher on this immediately.
Honestly, well, I mean, and that's your prerogative. But
oh,
no, anything would be better than the G2 interface. But we'll have to see how much better the software is.
Totally, I agree.
That definitely might hamper usage or usability.
I think, I don't know, for me, like, I'm not very excited about it, and I think the big reason for that is that I didn't care for the G2, which I've used.
Hey.
The reason why is because I don't, like, from my perspective anyway, I don't think LG has done anything that totally blows Samsung out of the water. I think their software is worse than TouchWiz or whatever Samsung's not calling their software these days. Like, it's on the G2, it is definitely more annoying and inconsistent in weird ways. So, hopefully they'll improve that. But like from a general consumer standpoint, like, I don't think that LG is offering that much that would make the average consumer go, oh yeah, I'm gonna get an LG phone instead of a Samsung phone. Like, so far LG has done a lot of copying of Samsung, not a lot of innovating. I'd love to see them differentiate in like different ways, kind of like how Motorola has, and they're doing like lots of people are copying each other. It's like almost all phones, especially like I know LG's does and Samsung's does. Like, everybody has like tap to turn on the screen and stuff like that. Like, we're seeing those things become commodities, but in terms of like things that really stand out, and in a device that you can use with one hand, like the G2, you can't use with one hand. Like, that's another thing. Like, we still don't, outside of Motorola, we aren't seeing flagship devices, and maybe Sony, but they're not available in the States. We aren't seeing flagship devices that you can use with one hand.
I don't know if you've used the G2, Ron, but the G2 is definitely, I think it's on the border of being one-hand usable.
I disagree, but...
Come on, bro. Your hands are like twice as big as mine, and I can't
remember that.
You've seen my hand.
His hand's used to doing this all the time because he has an iPhone.
Yeah.
And our hands are used to doing this, so
Exactly.
this is normal.
Yeah,
It's like iPhone grip, Android grip. That's all.
Look, I mean, like, even like something like the Moto X, like that fits in your hand, and then for honestly, the big
in your hand.
Yeah, it fits great. Like, with the G2, like, it's big enough to where it's uncomfortable for a lot of things.
You're gonna get carpal tunnel having to like, jack up your fingers so badly, like trying to use these small phones, dude.
I personally think it's past the point of being comfortable,
Yeah.
But that's a side thing. Like that, like I said, I think my main point is that I don't think they've done enough things that make me go, oh, I'd rather get a G2 or G3 over a GS5 or GS4, for each respective generation.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that 5.5 inches is a tad too big. I know Kellen at least feels that way. We've all read his opinions and Ron's opinions, and 5.5 inches it's just a little too big. So that's kind of a downer. But I mean, you can't say they're not trying to innovate, And I know that some people may say that a higher resolution display is not innovating, but throwing a QHD display on a smartphone is pretty darn awesome. Rear-facing keys, I like those, which I think is very cool. I wouldn't call key placement innovative, but it's something different. It's not a freaking home button on the front of the screen or anything like that. They are changing it up a little bit, and like Kyle said, I'm pretty interested to see what they're going to do on that software aspect, because Samsung, I mean, they go way beyond being helpful or anything like that. It's just bloat, So maybe LG can find that middle ground. Well, they just give you kind of the multi-window type stuff, Q slide and all that stuff. and not go so overboard. So
I'm looking at those screenshots that leaked from it. I actually kind of like the look of it.
No,
Way
Yeah.
more than Samsung's
it
TouchWiz.
just looks so plain though, does it? It's very
Which I
gray
like.
and monotone. I just don't.
It's the swing of the
No, it's not
pendulum,
really that
though.
gray. It's like it's got a lot of turquoisey blue kind of colors. That
Can you throw a link for that in the chat?
yeah.
Yeah, it's very clean and minimalistic, I think. And they needed to do that because the G2 interface was just so busy, and the icons didn't match stylistically.
Oh yeah, the icons were still like that.
It was a
Steve Morpheus
mess.
and them all gross.
Yeah.
And this new stuff, I think it looks alright. It's obviously everything's been flattened with some shadows.
And
As long as they can turn off all the Q-Slide apps crap up there and all that.
Well,
I'll
yeah,
be
you can.
alright.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can turn all that stuff off.
And
It doesn't
I
look
don't have
terrible.
the article.
It's very grayish to me. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the color scheme isn't great.
I don't have the article in front of me, but I believe an LG Assistant type app leaked in those screenshots. If I'm
Well,
correct.
it's that if you look at the clock and the weather, it says you may want
Yeah.
to take an umbrella. It's that whole thing. So it's something along
Right. So that might be something interesting.
Yeah, I think the only thing that is turning me off, and like you guys mentioned, is the size. So LG announced again tonight that they've gotten a 5.5-inch Quad HD display approved, and it'll be in their next flagship. So we were also talking before the air about how the Optimus G Pro or G Pro 2 or whatever their other phones are, they featured 5.5-inch displays. So now the G3 has the same size display as those devices. Just we're no longer in the I sort of made the comment earlier that there's no longer such thing as a phablet at this point. They're just all giant phones now. We just have giant phones. That's just where we're going with this. So I think the size will be a turnoff for me, even though I really liked the G2. So I was hoping they wouldn't go crazy with the size and they would sort of keep their Optimus G Pro line or G Pro line or whatever that is, and keep this thing just normal size. But that's not the case.
Nope.
It's going to be big. But what did we say in their announcement? It's 1.15 millimeters of bezel. Is that what that was?
1.15.
Yeah. So so this new display has 1.15 millimeters of bezel, and if you think about the G2, which was all display basically, it had 2.3 millimeters of bezel. So they've shaved off more than 1 mil. That's just insane. So it's going to be all display. It could be kind of cool. I mean, for a 5.5 inch, it'll be the smallest probably 5.5 inch device, which I guess is something.
538 pixels per inch. I'm talking about that density. That's going to be sick. I think it'll look great. All those YouTube videos and Instagram photos I post that get super like downgraded thanks to Instagram's like compressing, they're going to look even better. So it's fantastic.
Good job, Instagram.
Yeah.
For killing Android for us.
They hate Android.
They do hate Android. All right, so yeah, that's coming May 27th. We'll have that. So we'll have plenty of coverage. I think a lot of people are pretty excited for it. I think the G2 was sort of the underdog last year and didn't get as much love as maybe it should have. I know a lot of people really like everybody that's used a G2, outside of Ron, has really liked it. Yeah, they're like they claim it's the best phone ever, and I wouldn't really disagree. It's a really good phone, but. Let's see. So today, I believe, or yesterday, one of the days this week, there is a rumor that the HTC One M8 Prime is in the works, and it may come as early as September. So Prime being it's a better version than the One M8. So we now have two Prime phones to follow: Galaxy S5 Prime and the One M8 Prime. So this was a Quad HD, same 5.5-inch Quad HD display, probably that's going to be in the G3. Snapdragon 805, 3 gig of RAM. Sounds like a G3. Any thoughts on this bad boy? So, I just don't know what to say about these. They're all like, we're going to have three of the same phone. We're going to have the G3 with a 5.5-inch Quad HD display and 3 gig of RAM, yada, yada, yada. Then we're going to have this Galaxy S5 Prime. Well, that might be 5.2 inches or something. Basically the same deal. It'll be AMOLED. And then HTC is going to do one that's just like it. What's the differentiators? I don't know.
Yeah, well, concerning the Prime, the M8 Prime, I stand by the graphic I made for that article. I mean,
It was fantastic.
It's insane. HTC is releasing, or allegedly releasing, a better version of the phone that just almost, it feels like it just came out, honestly.
Yeah.
And plus, it's going to be released a couple months too late, because as you just said, the specs are basically identical to the G3, and it's probably going to have to compete with the iPhone 6. So I'm not sure what HTC's play is here, but maybe they can do something innovative besides improve the hardware.
Probably not. Probably not.
Oh, come on, let's be optimistic.
Yeah, I'll be a little optimistic. Actually, there was some camera tech in there, wasn't there? Some special camera.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether or not to believe that rumor. Supposedly, I think the megapixel count for the main camera on the M8 is 4 megapixels. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then, so apparently it's going to be bumped up to 5 megapixels, probably with the same ultrapixel tech. And the camera used for depth is going to be bumped up to 18 megapixels. But that didn't sound very plausible, so we have to take that with a grain of salt. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really odd.
I think they should probably just abandon the dual camera setup at this point.
Yeah, probably.
A lot of apps replicate that functionality, very well. So.
They do. They do. We kind of talked about that, I think, a couple weeks ago, that everyone's doing that now, and HTC put in 2. That doesn't really make sense anymore.
The timing was bad. It should have been in the first HTC One.
Well, and then you did.
Well, I think if they could demonstrate that it was higher quality than doing it with all software, which is what everybody else is doing, then that might make sense. But I don't think they can demonstrate that.
Yeah, at this point they haven't necessarily demonstrated that, and they could maybe make it better with updates and stuff. But
they might need to have like a camera sensor that's, I don't know, maybe takes pictures bigger than 4 megapixels.
Yeah, that would.
I think the problem is everyone is looking for good enough. These are not camera aficionados, the people taking pictures with their smartphone that they're uploading to apps. So for people who are actually knowledgeable about the tech, I'm sure that appeals to them. But for everyone else, it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah, I mean the camera takes fine pictures. They're just 4 megapixel, which I think we talked about in a review. Like I've been using the Verizon version lately because we reviewed the Galaxy S5, and I immediately just put it away because I really didn't like the phone, and so I picked back up the M8, and it's been fine. And it takes good pictures. They're just 4 megapixel shots. So yeah, so we'll see what's up with this Prime thing. Like you said, that'll be a few months after the G3. And then this Galaxy S5 Prime is still supposedly on the way, so it'll be after that. So yeah, it might be too late there for HTC, unless it's amazing, but who knows if it will be. It'll probably have giant speakers that make it twice the size of a Note or something. Let's see. So HTC released Q2. What were they? Q2.
Right, just Q2 guidance. Yeah.
And so what did they say? They basically think that they're going to try to dominate the mid-range market, and the M8 has already sold better than the M7. Is that what they said?
Yeah, that's all they said, so it was pretty vague.
Okay. But they might come back to profitability at some point soon, they think?
Yeah.
Well, they have to say that.
Well, they said, actually, this was kind of interesting, that this Q2 could be their most profitable in more than 2 years, which is certainly good news.
That is good news for them.
I know. They're not dead. They're not dead yet.
Back. I don't know about that.
They're still on life support, but no, the mid-tier stuff is not that interesting, honestly. I mean, we could see a new Desire device. I think the Desire 816 or something in Europe. But besides that, they didn't really. There weren't much in the way of interesting tidbits.
Okay. But the fact that they said they might actually make some money is good news for HTC.
Definitely good news, yeah.
Yeah.
Making money is important for HTC.
It is, especially since they said their best quarter in how many years? Did they say 2 years?
2 years. 2 years.
But they've been losing money for 2 years. That's
right.
Right.
Yeah, so instead of losing hundreds of millions, they might just lose like 80 million or something next quarter, this quarter.
Yeah. They're the reason it started getting sad to do state of the Android, every year, every couple of years, because they just kept sucking.
They just kept falling off the face of the earth.
Along with everybody else, let's be honest. It's not like it's been great for anybody besides Samsung.
Yeah, that's sort of an interesting whole whole dynamic there between all the Android. Like Android's grown like incredibly fast, right? And it's taken over the whole smartphone world. But it's Samsung, and then everybody else, yeah, is like in Windows Phone territory. Like they don't even really matter.
Yeah.
I think LG has done a little better though than they
There,
have in
there
the
are
past.
companies that are making it and that are making money, but in terms of who's like profitability and everything else like that, it's Apple and Samsung. That's it. Everybody else is a blip on the radar. Like they're not. Nobody else is making a dent.
Right. Yeah, I think LG's doing better and better. Well, I think they've had some up and down.
LG is,
They've done
and
okay.
Sony has a ton of phones, and Sony's able to stay profitable. But it's all these like Motorola and HTC that were losing money every quarter.
Right.
It's one thing to be like, at least making enough money so that you're meeting expenses and all that. These guys are losing money every quarter after quarter after quarter. That's the danger.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, so hopefully they think they can stop that, and they think they're going to take over the mid-range market, which Motorola is apparently already taking over. So we'll see. Good luck there. And speaking of that, the HTC M8 Mini is apparently on the way, and we've got a first press shot of that, and there is no duo camera on it. Just a single, we believe 13 megapixel camera is the rumored specs there. 4.5-inch 720p display, Giga RAM, Snapdragon 400. 5 megapixel front camera though, and yeah, single sensor, 13 megapixel camera on the back. So I wish this phone had a full HD display and 2 gig of RAM, and I'd probably buy it because it'll actually be a decent size.
Yeah, I
Well,
wish
what
companies. Go ahead, Franz. Okay,
I was just going to
that delay.
go for it now.
I just wish companies would pay more attention to their mini devices and actually make them good in terms of specs. Because eventually there's this huge trend towards large devices, 5.5 inches, 5-inch screen minimum size. As we just discussed. So the mini devices will become even more appealing to people like us, rational people like us who don't want phablets as phones. So it'd be nice if they were just shrunken down versions of their, flagship counterparts. But for some reason, these companies feel like associating the smaller size with worse specs and a cheaper price.
Well, it's because they push them all into, emerging markets and things like that, I think.
Right. Unfortunately.
Well, not the last Mini. I mean, the last Mini was on AT&T, right?
Oh, the last HTC One Mini?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, like
I
the
think-
S4 Mini and the S3 Mini were everywhere too, but they're
They just-
phones they can sell for cheap, right? To get into
Yeah, they
people's
sell
hands
for
and-
cheaper. But I
Yeah.
think, I think here's the question. Would you get a Mini, HTC One M8 Mini, terrible name here, over the Moto X?
Only if the specs were, like I said, slightly bumped up. I mean, the display is essentially
Because the X isn't known for its specs. That's the thing. Really, the thing that makes the X the perfect phone is having a good camera. And if this has a better camera than the X, and it's in that same kind of size range, like that then becomes appealing, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I think it would depend. Yeah, so the display's similar, although this is an LCD panel, and the AMOLED used in the Moto X is not necessarily great. But yeah, if they double the RAM, at least, it would probably be a phone I would consider over the Moto X because the camera probably will be better. Although you have to remember that Motorola did all this sort of under-the-hood tweaking to get performance and all that stuff, and who knows if this will have that with Snapdragon 400. So, but yeah, I mean that's something I'd like to consider. Is like, is well, I guess would I choose it over the Moto X? And maybe, mini phones. Kind of wish mini phones would just stop and go away. It's funny, like mini phones are now like phones that Steve
Normal
Jobs called
size
Hummers.
phones,
Yeah, it's too bad. Let's see what else we got. We want to talk about this thing that came out from Verizon yesterday. So their CFO, Fran Shamo, sat down at one of these investor or analyst conferences that he sits down at like every other week. And they basically asked him, because Verizon's Q1 wasn't great, they actually potentially lost smartphone or phone customers for the first time ever. They activate all kinds of new tablets, but they actually lost phone customers, and so they didn't have a great quarter. And he was asked, are you guys gonna start changing things and doing what T-Mobile did, and then what AT&T, how they essentially copied T-Mobile. And they both reported pretty good numbers on Q1, and Verizon said no, not really. I'm just curious, like, do you guys like where the industry's kind of going? And what Verizon said is we're not going to overreact because essentially all they're doing is they're taking out, the subsidies. Well, he didn't exactly say this, but this is essentially what he said. They're taking out all the profitability and the subsidies from contracts and then putting it on the hardware side by doing this whole payment plan thing. So he said they're just moving it from one side to the other. So I don't know if you guys agree with them or not, but what do you think about just the way the carriers are going? Like what T-Mobile's doing, obviously I think most of us kind of like what they're doing, but AT&T's kind of followed suit, and Verizon hasn't. So just curious thoughts in general on where the wireless industry is going in the last year, if you guys like it or not.
I think it's going in a good direction. I don't know what Verizon's going to do. They've always been sort of like the shall not compromise type of company, I feel like. I mean, when they have a plan and then I guess they're going to stick to it. I don't know. The thing is, I feel like companies like Verizon and AT&T, they're very forward-looking. Right now they're kind of dominating, and yet they need to continue to keep dominating. They need to keep investing a ton of cash into their networks and looking at LTE Advanced and VoLTE and all this stuff. So, I really don't know. I haven't seen numbers as to how much, money, or profit revenue these guys make from just the contracts alone, or even if they really even care. I don't know. I think I have other things to worry about. Or if I was them, than what T-Mo is trying to snatch customers. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. I just think T-Mobile wants to be the disruptor, and now with all this other news with Sprint going on, all this crap, it's really just becoming just a jumbled mess for me.
That's all you care about. You're just like, I just don't want T-Mobile to go anywhere. You're like, the hell with Verizon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I want AT&T and Verizon to keep their network strength up so much, because the only two carriers I can count on when I travel so much is either Verizon or AT&T, especially where I live. Sprint's a no-go where I live, and T-Mo is sort of iffy, only a HSPA+. So my thing is, all I care about is who has the best network. I don't really care too much about pricing on it. Clearly I'm a 1%er, and pricing, whatever. As long as the network works, then I'm happy. So, and I would rather Verizon be looking more towards the future and future network technologies and stuff like that. Same with AT&T, because I like AT&T's network a little bit more than Verizon's at the moment. So that's my thing. So I like where the industry is going. That's my short answer.
All right. Well, so Kyle, you and Ron, you're both on Verizon, right? So do either of you want them to go this other route where they're starting to take away contracts and make it all about payment plans on phones and all that stuff, or are you just kind of happy where you're at right now?
Go ahead, Ron.
I think I agree with what Tim said, that I think like T-Mobile is. I think we all agree that T-Mobile's doing good things in terms of trying to change things up and everything else like that. I don't like, and also that they need to be maintaining their networks and things like that. I'm starting to see more and more people complain about Verizon's network, especially people that have a Verizon device and an AT&T device, and saying that, hey, the same, especially in trouble areas where AT&T used to be an issue, now Verizon is. So like I saw a lot of people like it's big trouble areas like San Francisco and New York. Now when I was in New York, I was in Midtown, which is like notoriously bad for cell service and everything else like that, because you're under all these buildings. I had great service, GPS Blue, but it's going to be really hard in that kind of an area. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But in terms of the service, it was great for me, and I've seen plenty of other people complain about Verizon in that area. So I mean, it's going to be different for everybody, but I think that's a big thing going forward, that they need to be maintaining their networks and keeping them so the speeds are really good as much as they possibly can. I think it's going to be interesting in the next couple of years to see where numbers shift. I think we saw a lot of people going off of AT&T and going on to Verizon because of claims that the network was better and stronger, and I think we got a lot of people come on Verizon, and that damaged the network, or not damaged it, but it increased the load on there. But in terms of like changing how getting rid of subsidies and pay plans and all that, like I don't want anything to do with that on Verizon. I have no interest in that. I'd love it if we went to something that was either close to or identical to what T-Mobile's doing, where you pay, where you pay off the device, and once you're done, the subsidy's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt they're ever going to do that. They make a ton of money by hiding the subsidy in there eternally.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't anticipate them doing that. I don't think they could justify that to their shareholders. Like, I just don't see a way for them to do that without forcing people into, to new kinds of contracts when they were new or whatever. But it's tough because when you look at, like every once in a while I'll check and see what it would look like for my wife and I to switch to AT&T or T-Mobile or whatever. And every time, if there is a difference, it's a couple bucks. And so it's just like, okay, well, do I want to stick with what I know and with the coverage that I know and that I trust overall, or do I want to switch and risk it? And especially with AT&T and Verizon both being very, very similar in terms of having really strong, robust networks that are nationwide, that are reliable, like, I just don't see the point. So the only way for them to compete, especially if we see Sprint and T-Mobile merge, is going to be on price. But I don't think they can justify being that competitive. So I think we're seeing T-Mobile try and make some changes, and we're seeing some superficial changes from Verizon and AT&T, but they're not substantial. So maybe for individuals, if you're on your own, that's kind of a different game, where you can kind of do pay as you go and that kind of thing. But especially for families, like, it's kind of the same anywhere you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kyle, what were you thinking?
Honestly, I have to say I'm kind of impressed by what AT&T is doing and has done over the past couple of months. They, I believe, introduced new cheaper for some people plans,
Mm-hmm.
kind of in line with not exactly what T-Mobile was doing, but
they're close, though. Yeah, you're right.
Right. They're similar in some ways. Verizon didn't bother to respond. And I mean, today we all saw the news about AT&T's kind of accelerated 4G LTE rollout,
Mm-hmm.
and the beginning of their LTE Advanced rollout. I mean, it's in the preliminary stages. They only have one market that's live right now, or will go live this month, Chicago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But Verizon has been silent, and I feel that they just are the old incumbent who thinks it can weather this, the storm of new plans and benefits that T-Mobile has been introducing, and nothing will change in the end. T-Mobile will fold into Sprint, and everything will go back to the way it was. That's not a future I look forward to, and I hope it doesn't happen. But the only reason I'm on Verizon is because I was grandfathered into an unlimited plan, and honestly, I would consider switching if the service was comparable. I'd probably switch to AT&T because I do hear great things about them, like Ron does. And I was shocked, actually. I visited San Francisco not too long ago, and it was kind of the first time I realized that, maybe Verizon's signal isn't as great as they say it is everywhere. I know, the city is tough for all carriers because of interference with buildings, concrete, etc. But I don't know, it wasn't the reliability I'd come to expect from them, and their refusal to kind of respond to these changes in the market, and their belief that they can just hold out and keep things the way they are and keep milk their customers basically, is off-putting, and I don't know. I'm going to have to do some serious thinking this year.
Yeah, I think they just said, what he said was, we're going to continue to promote like our reliability and the strength of our network and things like that.
Yeah, it doesn't really. It rings hollow. Those words ring hollow.
Yeah, they don't really offer. Like you said, AT&T reacted to T-Mobile, and they actually had, I'm pretty sure, a really impressive Q1. They added all sorts of new subscribers and all sorts of stuff. So it worked for them too. We also don't know if all these changes are going to mean, these companies are going to make a whole bunch of money, at least in the short term. Like T-Mobile, I think, actually posted a loss, but that's because I think they paid off who knows how many people their ETF fees and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, like, you guys mentioned how Verizon's network doesn't seem to be as great anymore. Like, I'll admit that. Like at my house, Verizon coverage sucks. Like I've decided that when we review Verizon phones going forward, Tim has to do the battery testing because I get terrible battery life here because I think my connection's bad. But T-Mobile and AT&T here, perfectly fine. So, yeah, Verizon's not. I mean, it's still a rock solid network and it's big. But yeah, in cities and things like that, I don't necessarily think that it's any better than AT&T anymore. And then T-Mobile's still got a ways to go. But yeah, AT&T is definitely like Tim. You're basically using AT&T full time now, aren't you? I mean, you've been using AT&T exclusively. Yeah. So yeah, in my other line is AT&T. Go ahead.
Anecdotal. I mean, everyone has to keep that in mind. Your mileage may vary depending on where you live, but
for sure,
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they make changes. We'll see what happens in Q2 if they react at all. They did some minor changes, but like you said, Kyle, they didn't really do the things that AT&T did. So we'll see what's going on there. All right. So this next thing I want to talk about, it's kind of random. Did you guys see this NFC sticker called Dimple that's kind of been all over the place the last couple of days? All right. So Dimple, for those not familiar, is a crowd-funded project that's an NFC sticker with 4 buttons or dimples, if you will, on it, and you can program them to do different things. And you basically stick it to the back of your phone, and then it can you can launch favorite apps or hook it up with Tasker tasks, or you can
change what they're programmed to.
Yeah, you can change them all. Like some of them, what they want to do is do up to 8 different actions apparently per button. Like long presses could do things, multiple presses,
cool.
Or combinations of things could do things. They have all this stuff in in their plans. I'm just curious, like, do you guys want to put a giant 4-button sticker on your phone? Because the campaign has exploded, and it went live yesterday, and they've been sending us press emails for this thing for months leading up to it. But it finally went live yesterday, and I'm just checking the.
They're about to hit their goal. They're at 30,000. They need to be at 43,000.
Yeah.
So
they're 70% after under 48 hours. So people clearly are interested in this thing. I'm just curious, like, do you guys want a 4-button sticker to stick on the back of your phone?
In the video that they show for that, they show it on a tablet, kind of on the side bezel. Yeah. And, tablets do have a lot of bezel. So actually on a tablet, it kind of makes sense to have. On a smartphone, they kind of show off it on the Nexus 5. Oh, no, thank you. Like, that's hideous. But I think in certain use cases, it would be cool. But for sure on the tablets, I like that idea a lot. Just not on my smartphone. I mean, everything's already super accessible on my smartphone anyways. I don't need a button to make it any easier. So...
Well, and they show one of the pictures shows a red Nexus 5 with a white giant sticker. It just looks like a Band-Aid on there.
Meet Dimple. That's not the way I want to meet it. That's not. That's.
Yeah, I don't want to put a giant. People just seem excited. So, are you guys? Well, a sort of broader question. Do any of you guys use NFC regularly? Is it something that's a part of your? Okay.
I disable it
there. So when Samsung tried to push their Tactiles, I think they were called, their little NFC stickers. I had a few of them because they sent them to us like in a review, and I stuck one like on my desk and put my home Wi-Fi on it. So I figured if I could come home or not, I would just tap my phone on that. I never use the thing. It's like on the other side of my desk now because I rearranged my office and I just forgot about it. It's one of those things I never use unless. Like if I'm riding the Max, which is our local sort of public transportation, you can use Google Wallet to pay for Max passes, and so I use it then, but that only happens like once every couple of months. So is NFC a failure? Is that what we're saying?
Right now, yes.
It's still.
Well, thanks to Apple. If Apple would integrate it into their phones, it'd be great. But
retailers need some incentive to upgrade their terminals, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because Apple's where the money's at. It's unfortunate, but it's extremely true.
Yeah, no one will.
Ron would agree with me.
It's true. It's statistical. Like that's where the money's at.
It's scientific. I'm a freaking mathematician.
It's scientific.
Absolutely. If Apple did NFC, there's no doubt that there would be a NFC pay terminal everywhere.
Oh, everywhere, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but they want to own the whole experience, so knowing that it was Android first means they're never going to do that.
Never going to do that.
That's why they're doing, what do they call them? They have something that's like it, basically. I forget what it's called now.
It's iBeacon, right?
Yeah, iBeacon. It's basically the same. It's the same idea, at least. You could use it for all sorts of similar use cases, but it's... but they control it.
Yeah, and they put those in baseball parks and like sports arenas and stuff like that, right?
Stores, yeah. So in theory, you could have popped up with ads and things like that, and it'd be the same thing for
What a bunch of bubble.
Yeah.
I just don't like how Google needs to take advantage of
iBeacon.
their weight. No, not iBeacon.
Put iBeacon in the next Nexus. Yeah.
NFC it seems like such a powerful yet underrated tool, for selling goods or just going places. Wherever you see like the Google Maps sticker on a business, you just go up and those stickers are NFC. You just stick your phone up and it automatically checks you in and stuff. I mean, there's just so many neat little ways you can kind of integrate beyond just checking in and crap like that.
The thing is though, you have to find a sticker or something, right, that's NFC enabled. It has to be programmed, so you have to have somebody to program it, and then you have to physically touch your phone to it, right? Where it'd be easier if you were in a restaurant and you just use an app or something to check in rather than physically touch. When Google launched this program in Portland that was a complete failure for Places, and they put all these Places stickers in I think that was back in the Nexus S days actually. They put all these Places stickers in all these business windows, and you were supposed to check in, so you'd walk up to the front of the restaurant or business and touch your phone. The Nexus S was the only thing that used it, I think. And you could check in, and it didn't even really check you in. It created an NFC tag or something on your phone. It was the jankiest thing ever. But I mean, that became a pain in the ass, and no one wanted to walk around and find things. I don't know. It's an interesting or semi decent idea, NFC, but I don't know that when you ask somebody to have to physically do it, where they have to move. We're all lazy. I just don't know that it'll ever catch on. And
the problem is it's not easier than swiping a credit card, and it needs to be if people are going to use it. So I have to give Apple credit. iBeacon is a lot simpler. You just walk into a store. Credit. I know. We're stupid.
Get enough credit already.
Give them credit.
Give them more credit.
When we go through the smartphone, is that what you're talking
about? So whenever we go to the trade shows, CES especially. And Google I/O as well. They started incorporating NFC into our name tags. So whenever we go up to a booth or something like that, all these people, they just take their phones or and they scan our badges, so that way they know we were there and all that. I mean, there are neat ways where NFC, the user doesn't really have to do anything. As long as it's something that's completely persistent.
But somebody has to do something. There has to be physical contact. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, make the business person do that. I'm not getting paid to swipe NFC.
Right, but the human still needs to do that. It's like having a gas attendant. That's not helpful. Somebody still has to do it.
Have you seen the unemployment rate, sir? I think these people need jobs.
We need NFC jobs now. Yeah, and then be the NFC guy for my company.
Yeah.
I think everything needs to be our technology now is we have so much location-based power and all this stuff. Right? Google now is a pretty good example. And so you should be able to. There should be something where all these services would recognize where you are and either present you with information before you need it. And that's kind of what Google now tries to do, right? Maybe present you with the information you need so you can pay. If I walk up to a terminal and maybe it's a Bluetooth, LE thing combined with NFC. I have no idea. But you know what I'm saying? You walk up to a terminal to pay, and your phone's already ready to pay, rather than I have to tap this thing and then punch in my PIN and then hope the cash register person knows that I'm using NFC, and then maybe they hit a button and who knows. I mean, it's the worst process. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to pay for something with your phone. It's terrible.
The taxi cab experience.
At Starbucks, it's great.
At Starbucks, it's fine. That's because you're using Apple's app or something, and it works.
You can use the Starbucks app or Passbook, yeah. But that's the thing though. I think that's the difficult thing with NFC and any technology like that. Even iBeacon is going to face this. Is if it's something that the user has to do, and that there's, especially if there's some sort of exchange where there's a cashier or whatever. It's not just that the technology has to be there; it has to be implemented correctly and work consistently. There's a culture change there, right? That's not how people do transactions right now. So people need to learn how to do that on both sides of the transaction and make that normal and easier. And it's just, I don't think that's NFC could be used for so many things, and it keeps trying to be funneled into payments and things like that, and that's fine, but it's not a significant change. To where it's now I'm at it's just not significantly different than what's already available. I think that's those are the bigger questions to be looking at and to be figuring out. And Google has the technology to do that, and they have devices that are able to do those kinds of things. But that's the bigger issue. Like we're even seeing that with smartwatches now, right? Where people are wearing these things, they're getting notified and looking at their wrist, and that is still a cultural
taboo.
Not taboo, but it's like a when I do that, I'm signifying that, hey, I'm running late for something, or there's something else I need to go to. That's that's what that. If I look at my watch, it means I gotta go, right? And that's not actually what that means when I'm using a smartwatch and looking at a notification. I'm trying to be less rude than pull up my phone, because when I pull up my phone, it's like, oh, he's been sucked up in the conversation, he's gone. When I look at my watch, that still signifies that, oh, I need to go.
Yeah. Still
so, rude. Yeah, and I don't even know how that's gonna. Yeah, it's still rude. Yeah, and it doesn't communicate the right things because I'm actually trying to do something different. But how do I communicate that without completely interrupting the flow of the conversation that way too? Like, there's all these cultural changes that come with these technologies that still need to be figured out and discerned. So I mean, NFC is a cool technology. Like we've seen, but we haven't seen a way that it's implemented that really changes life for people and that really makes people want to use it. That's
maybe that's a 4-button sticker on the back of your phone.
I don't think that's it.
I think that's what we're trying to get at here. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we need to see somebody use this in a really neat way. But the difficult thing is that because NFC is physical, that makes it difficult for it to be something that's really crazy. I kind of like the idea of using it for when you get to your door, you put your phone on your door and it unlocks it. Like things like that are kind of cool and actually better than something like iBeacon, because if somebody,
I really need that.
I don't want to have my door to unlock when I'm near my door. I want it to unlock when I'm at my door.
Right.
So that's a great example of something that they could easily, and anything really with Android at home, if they ever bring that back and really implement it. There's ways where they could do this. We just need to see them actually do it, make it affordable, and make it something that people want.
Yeah. Nest
is the beginning.
Nest is the beginning.
Speaking of doors that unlock, though, this is kind of related and random, but do you guys remember that product called Lockatron? Anyone remember that? Okay, so it was one of those Kickstarter things that I backed 3 years ago now, and I still don't have it, and that was the idea. So you could unlock it with NFC, but also use Bluetooth LE. So if you were in the vicinity, it could unlock or sense that and do all the stuff. I still don't have it. They just keep sending me updates on their manufacturing process, which I really hate, by the way.
No, they're totally working on it.
Yeah, they totally have my money and they've had it for 2 years.
They got $2.2 million and they still have not given you anything.
Did you just look up Lockatron?
Yeah.
I know. I still don't have it.
Yeah, that's so embarrassing to me. I'm sorry. I don't believe in Kickstarting. Everyone knows this, that I am not a believer of Kickstarter.
I love Kickstarter, and I don't think I've got anything from Kickstarter that's ever been awesome.
Yeah, so 0.1% of things become awesome off of Kickstarter or whatever. I'm sorry, that's not worth it to me. The 1%. Come on. Anyways,
yeah.
Rocketron. When it ships, let me know because I'll totally buy one. I don't want to kickstart it.
Well, I'm supposed to have two, I think, because I also backed that.
Oh, nice.
What was that door camera thing we trashed the other day? That was a Kickstarter thing.
Oh my God. Oh.
What was that thing called? You said a neighbor of yours bought it too.
Yes. Oh man, this is gonna piss me off.
Yeah.
The Sky.
Anyways,
no.
That thing. So that terrible camera thing. They did a combo deal where you could get a Lockatron for cheap. So I'd already backed Kickstarter Lockatron, but then I did this front door camera terrible thing, and so it was paired with a Lockatron. So I actually have two that are 3 years behind. Anyways, now you're looking it up.
Yeah, because I can't believe I forgot. We were talking crap about it all day.
Yeah, we just trashed it the other day on air, I believe, because it doesn't.
Probably.
Yeah. All right, we're opening up Q&A. So if you guys have last-minute questions, feel free to jump in the G Plus area and do those.
The one that's good is called Sky Bell, but I forget the one that's bad, which is probably good. You don't want to remember the bad.
Oh, here we go. AMOLED, LCD, or IPS displays.
Can I go Super AMOLED?
Well, yeah, same thing. Anyone want to start there?
Ron? I
would just kind of put that between LCD and AMOLED.
AMOLED, yeah. I think. At least Samsung's AMOLED.
Yeah, it's probably.
The Galaxy S5 screen is amazing. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the LCD. I used to have a GS4, and I'd definitely say the quality was better. maybe I don't know what it is exactly. It could be viewing angles, and also this is going to sound strange, but I just don't like how you can kind of see not the pixels necessarily, but like the backlight, the technology of the backlight or something. I'm not describing it very well, but
I know what you mean.
And the sun, you can see like all these little dots, and it's like I sound like an idiot, but
No, I know what you mean.
it's just annoying and strange coming from AMOLED. I've had AMOLED screens for a long time. I had the Galaxy Nexus before the S4, and yeah.
And that screen was not great, but
no, it wasn't. But,
was that the first HD?
it was 720p. Yeah. So.
Anyways, Ron or Tim, is AMOLED or LCD?
AMOLED.
Oh, another AMOLED.
The new AMOLED, not not the oversaturated, janky AMOLED.
The diamond pixel
Super
arrangement?
AMOLED HD. That's the one I like.
Not the what was the pixel arrangement? All the old ones that we hated that Motorola used to use.
Pentile.
I forgot about that word because they moved on from it. But yeah, we used to talk about Pentile every time a phone came out.
You would
I got so sick of it
every time.
Well, it was like the worst display technology ever. Like I remember the Bionic. If you were in the app drawer and you flipped once, you just see the whole thing like shutter across your screen.
Oh yeah.
I just couldn't keep up. It was so bad. It just go. Oh, it was so gross.
No, that was supposed to happen.
Yeah, that was the effect. That was Moto Blur.
That was Moto Blur. Oh, that was great.
Ron, you're using an LCD. What would you prefer?
The dots do bother me, but I thought I was like the only person in the world that noticed that. But
no, what are they? Do you know, Ron?
I have no idea.
It bothers me that I don't.
Oh, I know what you guys are talking about, yeah. So I don't know what those are either, but you're talking about like in the perfect light, if you kind of at an angle, you can see this arrangement.
I see them all the time.
Grid almost, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't like obviously it's not like hindering me from using my phone, but I see them and I'm like, oh, that's weird. So, but I think like I agree that like with the most recent AMOLED, I think that's probably what I would go for. So.
Tim's trying to see the grid.
I see it all the time, like in the sunlight, like
you gotta have the right.
I see it all the time. And I'm always like, what is that? And I just figured it's for the touch sensoring or something like that.
It might be the digitizer. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it is something like that because I complained about it once doing a one of those tempered glass protectors, and everyone told me what it was, and I just can't.
I actually really like the look of the grid on there. I think it kind of adds like this almost like
add some effect.
Yeah,
it tells you where you can touch. You can touch here.
Yeah. Like, oh, this is neat.
Now, digitizer makes sense because I think Samsung binds the digitizer to the screen now, right? Don't they? The display.
Yeah,
so.
They might. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. I would say I will go with AMOLED as well. I've loved AMOLEDs for a long time. And the Moto X, even though it kind of has a yellowy AMOLED, it does cool things like with active display and stuff because you can light up individual pixels.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You can't do that in LCD. So, which is why I thought Samsung was going to copy that feature in the Galaxy S5, and they totally disappointed me. I'd go AMOLED. All right, what else we got here? Does anyone see a question before I read them all?
No, you gotta read them all.
Wow,
there's a lot of questions.
Brandon guy has a lot of questions.
Yeah, Brandon, boy, you're just gonna have
recognize him from somewhere.
Hit us from Twitter, probably. I see him on Twitter a lot.
Oh, the tweets.
Shout out to Brandon.
Brandon Griesel.
And Gabe Counts.
We have a question from the chat too. If you run out.
All right, give it to us.
What is it?
Reading through other ones.
Okay. Thoughts on the software? I mean, thoughts on the 1+1 software. The customized cyanogen mod.
Oh yeah. Well, we talked about this on Friday, and for anyone who missed it, I think I just summed it up with meh. Like I have to wait until we really get like a good hands-on with it. But for my initial impressions and all the ports closing I saw, it was just not. It was not ready for my eyes. It was not ready for anyone's eyes. It has some work to do. Although I'm sure it's on the right track, though.
I just haven't used CM in so long that I don't know. I'll have to spend some time with it.
What about the voice, the touchless voice? That you can activate with the screen.
Yeah, you want to hear this embarrassing story? So these guys, these clowns, giving me this demonstration at this event, dude. He was funny. That's why I'm calling him a clown. But he was trying to demonstrate the voiceless control, and he just kept repeating himself.
Touchless control. Yeah.
Touchless control. Excuse me. What did I say?
Voiceless control.
Just looking at him.
My phone has that too.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So touchless control, and he keeps saying they hadn't programmed it yet. All they had was you had to say "Hey Snapdragon" or "Hello Snapdragon" or something.
Oh God.
He said Snapdragon like 100 times, and it was not picking up anything.
Just couldn't work.
Yeah, and then he was like, "Well, let me try OK Google." And he's like, "OK Google, OK Google," and my Nexus 5 kept turning on, and I was like, "Well, this clearly isn't working," and so let's just move on. So
It's really disappointing.
I don't even know what to think of the OnePlus One yet, because if you ask me, I haven't even seen the darn thing. So I haven't seen it from what they're probably going to try and market, at least, you know. So we shall see. So far, I give it about a 5, 6. I don't know. Ecosystem 2.
Out of what?
Ecosystem score.
Out of 10, of course.
On a scale of 10.
What else do people score on? Yeah. No.
100.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's one. We kind of talked a little bit about this, but just quickly, LG G3 or new Moto X? Which one are you more looking forward to at this point?
Oh, gee. Oh, God, that's tough. Well, wait. Moto X Plus 1. I don't even know what that is.
Well, ignore the plus one. Let's just say G3 or new Moto X.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's such a good question. Ooh, I'm going to have to lean towards the Moto X. Sorry, LG. I mean, as much as they paid me to love the G3. I'm really excited for the Moto X. The Moto X was clearly my favorite phone of 2013, so I'm going to have to carry on the hype beast and just hope that Moto can come back with something equally as awesome, if not, better. So, Moto X. I hope it's small.
Moto X for me, but
Smaller
that's not surprising.
Yeah. My next phone's gonna be an iPhone, but Moto X.
For you guys should buy a Moto phone.
You guys should totally buy the Moto X.
You should write another 1,000-word essay on why people should buy a Motorola.
Gotta wait for it.
We gotta wait for it to come out, and then we'll just pen
Then
that.
I'll talk about it.
Just schedule that. Yeah, you might as well just start writing it now.
I'm just gonna copy and paste the last one.
I was gonna say, you can just swap out the name once we get there.
Is that cool?
That's funny.
I feel good about it.
Well, Kyle, we know you probably want the G3, so.
Um,
Or are you interested to see what Motorola is doing with the Moto X?
Such a fanboy, Kyle. Man, predictable.
I know. No, honestly, I'm concerned about the size of the G3.
Yeah.
I really am. I think it'd be comfortable to hold or use. So I'm going to wait and see what Motorola does. If they retain the size, upgrade the screen and processor, and maybe, add a cool new dedicated processor that does something awesome, or just, make the software better, that'd be great. So, yeah, I'll hold off.
That was a good question. Thank you.
Yeah, very
Fuzzy
good
Grumpy.
question.
Buzz Grumpy.
Fuzz Grumpy. All right, here's another one from Brandon that sent in 8,000 questions. Thank you, Brandon. We do appreciate it, by the way.
Keep going, Brandon. Keep
sending it. Do you guys think that IR blasters are dead or just gaining momentum? I would just ask, well, Ron doesn't have an IR blaster, but do you guys... Wait, the G2 doesn't have one either, does it? Does the G2 have an IR blaster?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
It does. Have you guys used the IR blasters in any of your phones?
Yeah, the IR blaster and the TV remote application that comes with the One M8, totally awesome, because it incorporates, it hooks up to your cable provider, or, TV provider, and it shows you shows that you would like. You choose favorite shows in blink feed. I thought that was like one of the greatest things I'd ever seen. I was like, oh, sweet. So I think IR blasters are just starting to pick up.
Kyle, you using yours in the G2?
Yeah, I didn't before when I had the Galaxy Nexus, I also had a Google TV. That just died. So the Google TV came with its own remote app, and the Google TV had an IR blaster built in, so that kind of solved the remote problem for me, and it had a guide and everything. But my brother has an HTC One, and when he first got it, he thought the remote app was the coolest thing ever. And I have to agree, if you don't have a smart television, it really is it's a huge improvement over like Time Warner's guide. I'd use my phone to choose a channel any day over what Time Warner offers on through their cable box. So, yeah, I do think IR blasters are. Was that you, Tim? I do think IR blasters are here to stay because I think people like them. I mean, at least I do, and my brother uses it often. So, and until somebody reinvents television, which has to happen soon, because
Apple.
Which Google's trying
no,
to do for the 10th
I don't
time.
think. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. Well, I think like
Oh, go ahead, Ron.
I was just gonna say like for even if I did have a phone that did that, I wouldn't use it because I don't have cable. So.
Oh, that's right.
Cord cutter. Yep.
Yeah. So like for me, it's kind of irrelevant. So it's but like for something where you're able to like either with Chromecast or Apple TV, we're able to use apps to do that, and that's great. But then obviously you don't need an IR blaster. So I do I think that I'm sure that they're going to continue to grow, and it's an easy sensor to throw into phones, especially when your phone is 7.5 inches big. But in terms of it being like a long-term thing, it depends on how the TV industry goes, right? Like I think it's a lot more interesting to have one, to use Bluetooth for remote stuff, and two, to have connected devices that are working with that content that hopefully isn't tied to something from Time Warner Cable or whatever one giant company owns the TV industry in the next couple of years.
Really dislike the cable industry.
Oh, it's so crappy,
There's
dude.
like nothing good about that.
Comcast is the worst.
All right, one more. This is completely non-Android related, then we'll do apps. Keon X wants to know, what music are you guys listening to nowadays? Anybody have anything new?
New?
Anything you're loving right now that you're listening to a lot of? Doesn't have to be new.
Yes.
You guys can go first then.
Well, I'm listening to Borderland a lot. That's like my favorite album ever. So it's by John Mark McMillan. I tweet about it a lot. It's really good. I'm also listening to Postal Service again because I haven't listened to them in a few years.
I will tell you, I have had 4 songs on repeat for the past 48 hours, and they are as follows. Decency Defied by Cannibal Corpse. Digital Love and Face to Face by Daft Punk. And the 4th is If I Had a Heart by Fever Ray, which is the opening song to Vikings. That song totally kicks butt. And Daft Punk, all their songs are hits. And Cannibal Corpse, just because, God, I love the gore metal and all that stuff. And the song, the lyrics will probably, make you have nightmares. And I like that. So, thank you.
Kyle, are you listening to anything in particular these days?
Yeah, I just heard about this new group on NPR called Tune Yards, and they just came out with a new album. Yeah, and it's really good. Tune Yards. It's exactly like it sounds. 2 words connected with a hyphen. Let me see. Their album is called "Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing." Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I just found it the other day, so I haven't really, I haven't even purchased it yet. I just listened to a sample, but it's super good. I don't know what I like about it. It's like a good mix of pop, but the lyrics are intelligent. So I recommend everyone, listen to the sample on Google Play.
Interesting. I'll check it out.
Kellen's been listening to the new Gucci Mane and Young Thug album.
Not a chance.
Not a
That crap. But I've been listening to all this old. I told Tim I've been listening to all this old Wu-Tang for 2 weeks straight.
Are you gonna chip in for their album, the
Like $19
one or whatever?
I actually think I did back that thing.
I did.
Nice.
Kickstarted an album.
I mean, I have this. Yeah, it's like 200 and some song playlist of all this old RZA and Gravediggers and Capadonna. It's kind of intense. Not getting sick of it either. So, anyways. All right, let's do some apps and wrap up. Tim, you got any apps you want to talk about?
Yeah, I got a couple apps. The first app I'd like to talk about is Godzilla Strike Zone. For anyone here who is a Godzilla fan, you probably already know that the new Godzilla movie drops next week. I already have my tickets for the IMAX 3D experience. I am so freaking stoked. The 8-year-old inside of me is just like, ah. Anyways, new game on Google Play. I gotta tell you, it has a Godzilla title, yet the game, much like most of Godzilla movies, is kind of crap. I mean, yeah, it has the Godzilla factor, but there's actually really no awesome gameplay to be had. But again, like I said, it's Godzilla, so you gotta download it and at least try it out for yourself. I will tell you, if you have the Nexus 5, don't even bother because the game is like non-compatible. I downloaded, and the first step you have to do is you halo jump into this danger zone in San Francisco where Godzilla has already come through and demolished. You have to rescue survivors, and you have to tilt your phone while you're halo jumping. And that's just funny because I play video games and people say halo jump. But anyways, you tilt your phone, and you have to steer clear of other halo jumpers, parachuters, and it just didn't work. So I had to download to the Galaxy S5, and it worked on that phone. Thank God. Beyond that, it's basically like a search and rescue type game where you have to find survivors, get them back to a safe zone. And what is nice about it is that Warner Brothers could have smacked on like a 99-cent price tag for this game, yet they didn't. They decided to stay classy, make it free to download, free to play, no in-app purchases. So I really appreciate that. It's very short. I think there's like 4 missions. So I haven't really been able to get through the whole thing. It just kind of came out today. So definitely go check out Godzilla Strike Zone. The next app, let me take a breather. The next app I want to talk about is Uber, which is the beta application which they released for Android. So anyone who uses Uber, it's a very cool taxi service, and allow me to elongate on, or continue with that. It's
Elaborate.
Yeah, elongate.
I mean, you can do that if you want.
You talk so much, you just get your words mixed up. And so from your phone, you can order a taxi. Say you're at the airport and you don't want to wait in that hour-long yellow taxi cab line. Usually you get in the taxi cab and it smells like taxi cab air freshener. You get a headache and everything just sucks. Instead, you got the Uber, and you got to wait like 5 to 10 minutes. The guy comes to you, get in, costs a little bit more, but totally worth it. And there's different levels of Uber. There's Uber X, Uber Black Car. There's like the Uber SUV, so it just depends on how much you want to spend. But it's basically a car service. And what's nice is that once you order the cab, you can track the driver coming towards you, so you know exactly where he is. It's not like you call 333-3333, and you have to just wait a half hour for your cab to never arrive. So they released a beta application, features some new features. They've rewritten the application. I complained to Uber on Twitter back when I went to New York because I had to stand in line for a yellow cab because the Uber app kept crashing on me, and I was really irritated. It's a very stressful time, and they're like, "Oh, we're so sorry," blah blah blah. So I downloaded the beta application. Seems to work great, although there is no Uber here in Portland, Oregon. So I'll just have to use it next time I'm in SF or New York or something and try it out. But if you use Uber, if you live in a city where it is located, definitely try it out. It's worth it. All you have to do is join the Google Plus community and then download it from Google Play, and you're done. And if you'd like, I'll link that in the chat. So yeah, Uber beta, check it out.
Ron, you got an app you want to talk about?
Yeah, I was just going to talk about the new Snapchat update. So Snapchat released an update this week that lets you do a couple things. One, they've added chat. So when after you send somebody a message, you can swipe from left to right on that person and then start chatting with them. And the other big thing that they added was that when you're chatting with somebody, there's a little button that will light up blue when they're viewing chat at the same time. So you can press and hold on that, and then it'll start a video chat instantly. So I've used the chat a little bit, and I haven't used the video at all yet. But it's pretty cool. So if you haven't, I mean, it's a nice thing if you are just want to send, just do a quick video thing. It's not like you have to set up a call and everything else like that, like you normally do, whether it's on Hangouts or FaceTime or whatever you use. It's just built right in, starts right away. So it's pretty cool. It's a nice update. So check it out. It's definitely something that made me more interested in using Snapchat, got me using it again. I haven't used it in a long time. So.
Is it weird that I've never used Snapchat? Ever?
Neither have I.
I hated it, and I hated it because I was like, I don't want to like take pictures and videos that I'm never going to see or use again. That seemed like a waste. But then this last week, as I was going through my Dropbox and clearing out pictures that I don't care about and don't need anymore, I was like, you know what? Actually, there's a lot of times when I take pictures of crap that I don't ever need to see again, ever, but I still want to share them. So like I don't want to clog up my Instagram feed with a bunch of crappy pictures. Like that's perfect for Snapchat, where I have the urge to share a moment, but it's not something that I want to like memorialize forever. So for that kind of stuff, and everybody's on it already, for that kind of stuff, it's great. And if it's something that I really want to, make it look great, then I sure as crap aren't going to put it on Instagram, because Instagram ruins pictures. So put it on Flickr and share it.
Yeah, maybe I'll try it someday.
What, Snapchat?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Add Eric. You'll see all the awesome stuff he's up to.
Poor Eric.
Yeah, everyone here, add Eric. He's totally legit on Snapchat. He's always sending me sweet videos of food and all this fun stuff. And dogs. I think he sends dogs. Anyways.
All right, I think that's it for us, unless you guys have any last-minute topics or any pressing news you want to toss out there. Anyone? Last minutes? Other than the Blazers getting destroyed last night by the Spurs.
Why do we gotta bring that up, yo? Just let it go.
All right, I've let it go.
Well, the question is, what's going on? Thunder is leading 31-23 against the Clippers, and for me, that's big news. I'm all about KD, man. Huge 35 MVP. Get it. Anyways.
Cry it up for an hour on stage.
Oh, I'm sorry that he was totally deserving. It was very he was just so deserving.
I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. I don't know that he needed to cry for an hour. But
he wanted to thank everyone who got him there, and I thought that was so great. He's a superhero.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. He's my age, dude. It's just sad, and I hate that. Like, I'm only 25, and these guys are NBA MVPs, and what am I doing?
I remember when I hit that age where I was just getting older than all of the NBA superstars, and I kind of had a little freak out. I was like, this is weird. These guys are like multi-millionaire, like ballers. Now I'm over it. I'm well over that age now. So.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we will wrap up then, and we will, I believe we'll be back next week. So thanks again for joining us. This was episode 58, DL Show. Thanks again. Peace.
Peace.